the foundation of coaching is the first thing that we're doing is demonstrating ethical practice. And what does that mean? Well, the definition is it understands and consistently applies coaching ethics and standards of coaching. And then there are 7 pieces that are a part of that. The key piece here, and again, this is something that you can learn, is by going to number 4, which is abides by the ICF Code of Ethics and upholds core values. The other thing that we want to do in coaching is the one just previous to that, and that's to use language that is appropriate and respectful to clients. Maintaining the difference between coaching, consultation, psychotherapy, and other types of support professions. The reality check is, Joe and I will tell you first and foremost, we are not consultants. We are not therapists. That is not our role. Our role is to do coaching, and within the context of the coaching, our job, our responsibility is to help you to work hard. In fact, one of my coaching classes, one of the mentors said, our job is not to work hard, it's to work smart, which means you're the one, the client has to be the one that's going to work hard. And so the goal of coaching is to trust that the person that we're working with is the expert on their situation. And so we'll get into that more later. Coaching embodies a coaching mindset. Joe and I are both continually looking to read materials, go to classes, do webinars, be a part of that thing in terms of increasing our own awareness of what coaching is all about. I've got certification in a couple of other areas for coaching as well. And Joe's working on some of those things himself. But we want to be able to make sure that we have a mindset that is always going to be one that is saying, what can we do? What are those questions that we can ask that will get our client, get that church, get that pastor able to dig deep and really figure out what's going on in their own lives. And also within coaching, though we're not consultants, sometimes we do have information that we want to be able to present to you. And so we might refer you to a book. We might refer you to somebody else that can help us with all that. The other thing that we want to do in a coaching mindset, when we first start learning coaching, one of the things that we are told is you need to ask powerful questions. Well, sometimes it's not just about asking questions, but it's about giving back. It's about feeding back what we've been hearing, mirroring to the client what it is that we're hearing. And sometimes with an open hand, offering an insight. And if the client doesn't see it that way, then we just let it go and we move on to whatever is important to them. And again, it's always about the client. So this is where we come into the co-creating a relationship. And it's establishing and maintaining agreements. And in the definition of that, partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to create clear agreements about the coaching relationship, the process, the plans, and the goals. Establishes agreements for the overall coaching engagement, as well as those for each coaching session. And basically, when I'm taking on a new client, I tell them what coaching is. We develop a contract together. And what does that look like? But it really has to do with what their goals are. And again, it's always about the client. It's not about me as the coach. I am partnering with the client and those relevant stakeholders. Maybe it's a church consistory or whatever it might be, to establish any overall coaching plan and goals. And partners with the client to determine the client-coach compatibility. Sometimes we're not a good fit, but where I might not be a good fit, I might recommend Joe to be the one that comes in. We may look at, say, somebody else would be a better fit for. We just work with that. And again, a coaching relationship is always going to be one that is in the best interest of the client. It's going to come in later here, not on this page, but one of the things that sometimes we're going to wrestle with is we become engaged. I'm coaching a fellow pastor, and maybe I'm in a situation where I can relate exactly to what the pastor is saying. We've gone through similar situations. I could get down into the pit with that fellow pastor, or I might be able to just stay outside of that. One of the things I think that we always have to remember is we're to coach the person and not the problem. And so we trust that the person knows best what's going on. Our responsibility is to partner with them to help discover what is best. My hope is that as I'm talking, you're able to read through some of these core competencies, because we don't have enough time to do everything. I just kind of want to highlight the 8 pieces that are there, of the 8 primary competencies. All these are subheadings. You can read these on the ICF anytime you want, or seeing as Mike is recording this, you can go back and read it and pause it at any given point, and you can watch it all yourself. Then you don't have to work your way through the ICF page. Cultivating a sense of trust and safety. And what that means is partners with a client to create a safe, supportive environment that allows the client to share freely, maintains relationship of mutual respect and trust. One of the things that when Joe and I first start our coaching demonstration today, after we greet one another as if this is a first time meeting, one of the things that one of us will say, whoever's coaching, is, Ken or Joe, I want to remind you that our conversation today is confidential. This is just for you and me. This is not to go outside. Now, if the client wants to take it outside, that's okay. But as the coach, our responsibility is to you. Okay. And so we want to do that. You want to be supportive. You want to be empathetic. You want to be able to engage with them, maintaining a sense of presence, fully conscious and present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, and grounded and confident. What that means is shut your cell phone off or mute it. If your phone rings, too bad, that person will wait. As a coach, our responsibility for that 30 or 50 or 60 minutes is just for the client. And you need to know that I'm going to be engaged with you in that. I'm going to listen actively. I'm going to pay attention. I am going to mirror back. I'm going to reflect what is going on. One of the things that is hard for pastors is to know when to keep their mouths closed. And so, because we like to teach, coaching is not a teaching moment. Coaching is not an opportunity to preach Sunday sermon. Coaching is an opportunity to minister to that person with whom you are dealing. And that means sometimes it's better to be silent and thoughtful than to speak and remove all doubt. Okay, we want to be able to make sure that we allow that space for the client to think, to reflect, to really chew on what it is that they're discovering. That's part of the active listening. And you can see active listening focuses on what the client is and is not saying to fully understand what is being communicated. So within that context, not only are you hearing the words that they're saying, but you're listening to the tone, listening to inflection. If you're able to see them face to face or on Zoom, it's pay attention to body language. Are they making eye contact, or are they off every place else and trying to avoid? You as a coach can't do that, but your client might. You need to pay attention. And one of the things that I find, try not to do coaching immediately after a meal. Because if you do, the blood goes the wrong place and it isn't between your ears. Okay. And so sometimes it's easy to kind of, your eyes get heavy, especially if you've heard it all before, or whatever you think you've heard it all before. You want to make sure that you have that proper space and proper presentation where you can listen actively. The 7th is evoking awareness. And this facilitates clients' insight and learning by using tools and techniques such as that powerful questioning, such as just as powerful silence. Sometimes it's about using metaphors or analogies. Joe and I were having a conversation the other day, and both of us, we came out of nowhere and we had both of us had individual metaphors for a situation that we both went, whoa, I have to remember that. I need to use that. But you can't always use somebody else's. It's got to be germane. It's got to be in the moment. And then the last of the, and you can read through this. Sometimes a word of encouragement with what they're sharing, and then supporting that client. Maybe sometimes they don't have quite the right words, and if you're hearing something, it's asking for permission. Can I offer you something? And then wait and see if that fits with them, if they give you permission. And if they don't give you permission, again, remain silent. That's okay. And then the last thing that we want to do is cultivating and learning growth, and that's to facilitate the client's growth. Works with a client to integrate the new awareness. It's about action steps. It's about you're being vulnerable as a coach to be able to say, okay, what's the takeaway? And if there is no takeaway, then we got to figure out, okay, maybe I ought to give you a session for free. But if there is a takeaway, then celebrate that new insight, but build on that with them, those action steps, and then celebrate, if you have multiple settings with this person, and hopefully the coaching situations are going to be best served by having anywhere from 5 to 10 sessions to start with, then one of the things that you're looking at is celebrating with your client their progress and what they're doing, and then figure out what you need to do. Okay, how do we wrap up this session? What is here? And then in the end, even though I don't think I have it here, I don't have it here, and you can go back to the whole page if you want, Mike. One of the things that's important is, as you're coming to the end of things, maybe the end of the coaching relationship, it's find a way to develop a sense of closure, celebrating with your client what it is that went well, what it is that still needs to be worked on, maybe even talking about continuing coaching. All those things are part of it.